Before I start, I'd like to officially welcome you to my channel. Thanks for making it past the intro. If you are into cameras, gadgets, technologies, and all that good stuff, consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell if you haven't yet. In that case, you won't miss out anything from this channel. That being said, let's dive right into the topic. For the build quality, this thing is heavy. Right out of the gate, you'd feel that this lens is built like a tank. For the size, personally I love the proportion of this lens, a bit longer than the Sigma 30mm but has a filter size of the Sony 18-105. It's kinda like a bulldog. It's small but chunky or bulky. Well, anyway, you get the point. For the focal length, I was actually choosing between the Sigma 56mm or the Viltrox 85mm. So what I did, I got my 18-105 and spent like 4 straight days shooting at 56mm and another 4 straight days shooting at 85mm. Somehow I find it easier and more satisfying to shoot at 85mm. Well, at least for the way I shoot. I love that I can maintain quite a distance from the subject and still get a decent tight framing. Especially for street photography where I don't want to be awkwardly close to the subject as that might ruin a nice stolen shot. Also, while I'm aware that the Sigma has a larger aperture, I like the amount of compression I get with the 85mm. Hence, I'm digging this lens for portrait shoots and even product photography. As a matter of fact, I recently got a client that sells scented candles. And guess what? She loved the photos I gave her. All these were taken using the Viltrox 85mm. However, if you don't have the space, this might be a bit of a challenge for you. When I first shared photos shot using this lens, people seem to be puzzled about its image sharpness. Too bad I don't have the Sony 85mm or the Sigma 85mm or any other 85mm lens to compare this with. How I wish. But let me tell you this lens is absolutely not as sharp as the Sigma lenses. Like if I'm editing a photo shot on the Sigma 30mm, I hardly increase the sharpness level. But with this lens, I usually go at about 25 to 40 increase in sharpness. Now you might be thinking, how bad is it then without the post-processing? Well, it isn't bad actually. Rather, it isn't bad at all. In fact, without any comparison with other lenses, the image sharpness you'll get from this lens is without a doubt acceptable. So given that I used to use the Sigma 30mm, does it feel like a downgrade? Not really. Definitely not. For the autofocus, this lens indeed has both the eye and face tracking, but I don't see it as reliable as my other lenses, although it does the job. But for certain situations where the subject is moving fast and all, this lens struggles evidently. Hence, maybe for casual photography and videography, I could rely on the autofocus of this lens. However, for professional work or critical situations in general, I highly suggest you go manual with this lens. If there's one thing that might not make me want to buy this lens, it's not the image sharpness, not even the lack of IBIS. It's actually the autofocus. But then again, I would go back to where it all started, the price. Lastly, the Viltrox really has done a fantastic job with this lens. Imagine 85mm with f1.8 aperture for only $300. $300. Man, that's generous. I tried using this lens for a day trip in Antipolo. Like I only brought nothing else but this lens. From daytime to nighttime, I have had no problems with this lens. It actually gave me quality photos and videos even in low light situations. And of course, with this focal range in tandem with this large aperture, the bokeh you get out of this lens is heavenly creamy. Like heavenly creamy. And I meant that. May it be for photo or video, I was absolutely impressed. I heard though that you can update the firmware and have it opened up to F1.6. Well, I haven't tried that, not even sure if that's safe. But so far, so great. You might be asking, is this lens good for video? Well, probably not the best, especially considering that it has no in-lens stabilizer. But I still tried, and I could say, not bad. Anyway, let me show you. Wala pa, no? Oo.
Pwedeng hindi, pero so, ito lang talaga tapos na shift. Ay, hindi mo, tinread. Kami naman tayo may naman tayo may
Sola. There you go, folks. While an 85mm isn't for everybody, if in case in the future you'd want to have one, consider having this Viltrox 85mm f1.8 Mark II. Believe me, this is a good value for money. Finally, I'm sure I wasn't able to cover everything about this lens, such as the purple fringing and all. I'd love to continue the discussion in the comment section, or we can connect on Instagram and on Facebook. Nonetheless, if you're here for confirmation or affirmation, yes, you won't regret having this lens in your arsenal. Once again, if you're getting a thing or two from this video, please do like and subscribe to my channel for more not super technical but rather practical approach to gadgets and technologies. Until then, thank you for watching.